In this video, we'll cover band of stability. The band of stability is something that you can see within this graph. Let's go in with the definition along with describing this graph. A band of stability is a graphical plot, just like this, between the number of protons and the number of neutrons, proton in the x-axis and the neutrons on the y-axis, and of different isotopes. All these little dots here are representation of the isotopes, and these isotopes are stable atoms. So let's take, for example, I'm just going to pick a random dot here. So let's say this one. This is number of proton 30, so that would be zinc. And so the number of this right here and the zinc over here, this corner of the arrow, and the number of the neutrons, maybe 30 of the protons and 32 or 33 of the neutrons, and that would be considered a stable isotope of zinc. So it'll be a zinc 33. Now you'll see these red lines too. There is a representation of the red line, and that red line represents on the bottom one, it's the neutron to proton ratio is 1:1. So if the neutron and proton ratio is 1:1, they would fall under this red line. Not everything, but the ones that are on the lower atomic number, they're going to have that 1:1 neutron to proton ratio to be 1:1 or just 1. And that's stable for those guys. But more towards higher in the atomic number or more higher in the proton number, you'll notice that they fall under the solid red line, and that has a ratio of 1.5 to 1, so a little more neutron than the proton. So the higher atomic number, the band of stability shows 1.5 to 1. Everything in between are the isotopes that fall in between 1 and the 1.5 of the neutron to proton ratio. So again, this whole thing right here, this graph is considered to be the band of stability, and whether it falls under 1:1 ratio or 1.5:1 ratio or somewhere in between, all these graphical data shows where the isotope lies of a stable atom. Now, what if it falls outside of that? Okay, so there are plenty of isotopes that fall outside of band of stability. There might be under here, there might be here, and so on and so forth. Well, for the guys that go isotopes that go out of these band of stability, they would be considered to be an unstable, and they would then have to go through nuclear reaction, or they will go through the nuclear reaction in order to achieve stability. And what nuclear reaction then? What nuclear reaction would the unstable isotope go through? For this one and all of these guys, are they going to go to alpha decay? Are they going to do beta decay? Positron emission? What isotope? I apologize. What nuclear reaction are they going to go through? And that prediction is what we're going to go over next. So here's my student asking that question. Hopefully she gets some clarification. So let's talk about the ones that are in the higher end, and the elements or higher end of the proton or the atomic number, elements that are above the band stability. Okay, so here's the 1.5, they fall quite high. This means that the neutron number is higher and the N to Z ratio is higher than 1.5. Well, the isotope mass is most likely, it's probably going to be greater than the average atomic mass. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you look at this isotope, iodine 131, okay, and you look at the periodic table iodine, you'll notice that the average mass, atomic mass is below. So if you look at the periodic table, let me label this. This is your average atomic mass, and this corner is the isotope mass. So in this scenario, 131 is greater than 126.90. If you see that the isotope mass is greater than that average, then chances are it's going to go into the beta decay. So denoted as 0, -1, beta. Sometimes that beta sign is interchangeably used for E. And so therefore it's going to go through beta decay. What if the neutron to proton ratio is low? So it falls under 1. If they're falling under 1, so it's going under this dotted line right here, well, the isotope mass, this is when isotope mass, let me show you the isotope here. Isotope mass like 16 is less than the average atomic mass. So here's my average atomic mass. I can find that in the periodic table. And you can see that 16 is less than 18.998. So something like this, they're either going to positron emission, or they're going to go through electron capture. If it's a lighter element, it's going to go through positron emission, denoted as 0, +1, and then beta. For electron capture, for heavier elements, they're going to go through electron capture. So something, say the proton number is great right here. These guys are going to go through electron capture, where it accepts, right? It's not going to spit out anything. It's going to grab onto 0, -1 electron, okay, for the heavier elements. So this is how we sort of know what kind of nuclear reaction these isotopes might go through based on by looking at the band of stability. Now, if you go above 84 and above, so that's quite heavy, they are most likely going to go through the alpha decay. So that alpha decay is 4,2 alpha, or fission. Okay, now we didn't talk about fission yet, and that's coming up in a different video. So they can do other nuclear reactions, just alpha just happens to be a common one, meaning that they can do beta, they can do positron emission, electron capture, you can do all of those things, but just generally they're going to go through the alpha decay, or one or more of the nuclear reaction. So hopefully this lady is have little more clarification. To further clarify, we will do a learning check. Here it says identify the types of reaction that each of the following nuclides, or also known as isotopes, will go on, and write the balanced nuclear reaction. So nuclide is also known as aka isotope. So let's go over each one. So let's go over the iodine first. Here's iodine 131. And you compare the mass number of the isotope, or the nuclide, and then you're going to look at the average atomic mass. So let me label this again. So this one is the average atomic mass, whereas this one is the isotope mass. So if the isotope mass 131 is greater, right, than 126.90, so isotope mass is greater than average atomic mass. If I'm greater than am, right, then we will go through, that means that it's going to go through beta decay. Well, how did I know that? We can kind of go back to our previous slide. Remember this one here? If isotope mass is greater than average atomic mass, this means the neutron to proton ratio is going to be too high. And so if that's the case, it's going to beta decay. So that's how I knew it was beta decay. So let's go ahead and write the nuclear reaction. 131 1 I 53. It's going to go through beta decay, which means it's going to spit out a beta decay or something electron-like particle. And also, while it's doing that, it's going to change the component of the iodide, okay? Meaning that the iodine will become something else. It will become a different element because you do tamper on with the number of protons. So if you recall from yonders ago, here is mass number and mass number here. The product of the mass number and the reactant product mass number of the reactant should equal out. The mass number here is 131. Over here, currently it's 0 you could see that from the beta, but then you'll have to have the other element to have 131. So plus 131, that will give me 131. So the left and the right side of the equation will have both 131 for mass. For proton number, on the left-hand side, totality is 53. On the right side, the proton number, it's -1. And then you need to add something to get 53. So that's my -1. That means this must be 54. So what element has a proton number 54? If you look in the periodic table, that's xenon, that's Xe. So this is the balanced nuclear reaction for the iodine. So this unstable isotope will go into beta decay. Let's try for carbon 11-6. Carbon 11, okay? So carbon 11, this is something that we're going to look at the isotope mass, and we're going to look at the average atomic mass. So you'll notice that isotope mass in comparison to average mass. So that's 11 or 12.01. I'm less than AM, okay? If I'm less than AM, that's my little acronym there, then what do I go through? Well, I'm going to go through a positron emission. Sorry, lost my train of thought. So if I go back right here, positron emission. So you can either go through positron emission or electron capture, but because carbon is considered to be a lighter element, we are going to go through positron emission. All right, so isotope mass is less than average atomic mass. Let's go back. All right, so let's go ahead and write down it's going to go through positron emission. So how do we do that? I'll write the balance equation. We write 11,6 carbon, and it's going to go through some change, and the positron emission is denoted as 0, +1, and beta. Okay, or you could write E. And then it's going to form some kind of element, and let's see what it forms. Well, we know that the mass number on the left side is 11, okay, because it's carbon. That's the reactant side. For the mass number for the right side of the equation, so far we have a 0 plus something must equal to 11, since the left side and the right side need to equal out. So therefore, it must be 11. So 11 here. Now let's look at the proton number. So proton number on the carbon side or the reactant side is 6. On the right-hand side, the proton number we have already, we have +1. You see that +1 right next to the positron emission. And then some kind of value to equal out to 6. Write this. So plus something must equal 6 total. So that means this must be 5. So this has to be 5. So what atom has atomic number of 5? If you look at the periodic table, that would be boron. So that's B. Okay, boron. So that's my balancing nuclear reaction for carbon. Now I want you to try for rubidium and see what you get and check the key. And here is the key.